Hey everyone, Lore Harbor here with another Dungeons & Dragons story. This one I found on RPG Horror Stories on Reddit, and the link for it can be found in the description below. This one is about a new player who thinks they're a murder hobo. However, they learn a few valuable lessons, most important of which, don't play Dungeons & Dragons with an ex who it ended badly with. With that said, let's dive in. This is a story of how my first time playing Dungeons & Dragons ended with me playing as a sorta murder hobo, and my friends not being the best mentors. The cast members: me, the inevitable murder hobo who has never played D&D. Luca, the DM, who also played as her DMPC, that's a Dungeon Master playable character, for those who did not know, who I will call Deus, and who didn't really like me all too much because she was my ex, and we did not end on the best of terms. Hector, a fellow player who I would not consider to be a problem player, but I later found out that he was dating Luca at the time, which kinda explains some of his actions. The story: back in the tales of yore, where the light shined before the darkness followed, 2018, I was in my junior year of high school and overheard my friends talk about a planned D&D campaign. Now, I heard of D&D, and I did own a D20, which once belonged to my mother. She was a D&D veteran since 2nd edition. But I never actually had a chance to play it. So I asked them if I can join, and they agreed to let me join. So I added them on Discord, and got a general introduction of how the game works. However, problems soon arose. I didn't know how to make a character. I asked Hector if he could help me, and he sorta tried, but it was pretty much a go and do it yourself sort of thing. He simply copied and pasted the text from the books. I told him I didn't have time to read the wall of text, mostly due to work restraints. So I did the most stupidest thing I have ever done and will never do again, and all of you can roast me for it. But I asked him if he can make my character for me. Now I feel as I should say that I now love making my own characters, and if anyone should ever ask me to make their character, I tell them, if you leave it up to me, you will not feel attached to the character. Because how Hector described my character, everyone else knew he had made a bad character just to fuck with me, but I did not, so I was okay with running it. The character he created was an orc bard, but Luca told him I needed to at least be playable. So then they made me an Aarakocra, the big bird guy. I can never remember how they're spelled. But Hector said, I want him to be an orc because it fits with his appearance. Something along those lines. And Luca said, well, we can't keep him as a bard, so let's make him a fighter. And Hector responded with, but it will make it even funnier since his charisma score is so low. So I stepped in and said I'm okay with playing anything. So we went with an orc bard. Then when it came time to select spells, Hector did the same thing as he did before, except this time without the description of the spells. So I read the names and selected which one sounded the coolest. After that mess of a character creation, it was time to begin the first session. Now as a quick note, I worked at a hotel on the weekends, and our first session started on a Friday since school had that Friday off. This is important later on. So the first campaign rolled around, and we were introduced to everyone's characters. Now, I only remember two, and that was the DMPC, Deus, and another player's character who played as a racist paladin. Side note, me and that other player did choir, and I did musical theater at my high school, so we thought it would be awesome if we made songs to sing together. For example, the drinking song. Sadly, it never came to fruition. As our characters introduced themselves, me and the paladin got into a fight. I believed it was because his paladin said something racist. Now, I could have pinned this whole thing on my knowledge of orcs always being angry. But no, this was my own stupidity and arrogance, and I have learned from my mistakes. So as me and the paladin got into an argument, I reached for my weapon and attacked him, and a fight ensued. The DM tried to get us to stop, but we took it outside and fought to the death. My death, anyways. Now, something I forgot to mention was we used a dice bot to roll the dice. So as I used the dice bot, my luck could not have been worse. I did not know the stats on the paladin, but as I attacked and rolled each and every time for 3 straight rolls, I got a natural 1. Meanwhile, the paladin trying to retaliate landed 2 natural 20s in a row. Now, I don't know if the dice bot could be fudged, but after that, I had my suspicions. Near death, I used up a spell slot to cast Sleep. Now, remember how I said I didn't get any spell descriptions? Well, I did not know about saving throws, and what happened if they succeeded. So I thought I could end this fight by making him fall asleep, but then I learned that on a successful save, he would just be drowsy. Then, just like that, he landed the final blow and killed me. That's the end of our story. Good night. Yeah, there is more to it, though. Now, I never mentioned Deus, and for good reason. She was basically a god. When my character died, without making any rolls, she jumped between our characters. She pushed the paladin backwards and my character forwards, and proceeded to, and I shit you not, resurrect me from the dead. Yeah, her version did not have death saves. Your HP reached 0? Sorry, you're dead now. We were all level 2s, and she was already level 5. And Hector? Well, he was her mentor, so naturally he was also level 5. Then after that, we got our quest and ended the session there. Then we planned our next session, and true to fashion, they planned it on a day they knew I worked. Then it was the same after next week, and the next week, then the next week. Eventually, I learned they just kicked me from the Discord server and killed off my character. And that was it, the ending to my first time playing D&D. Epilogue. We graduated, and I never heard from them since. However, my time playing D&D only just begun. About a few months ago, I got bit by the D&D bug and started getting books and studying how to play during my free time. And I am now DMing for a family campaign. I love D&D, and I cannot get over how amazing it is, especially with the roleplay aspect. Thank you all for reading. Have a good one. Okay, so that was a bad first D&D experience, but you're not the murder hobo that you think you are. A murder hobo would be running around, killing townsfolk and others that can't really defend themselves too well against you for things like loot and just for the laughs. Instead, you confronted another player in your game, and that's okay. It's a good learning experience to have. Whether it was for the right reasons, the wrong reasons, it doesn't matter. You still learned from that. As far as the whole situation with your ex, and especially ending on bad terms, I'm definitely no dating relationship expert there, but it's probably never going to go well, especially in a more intimate setting like a Dungeons & Dragons campaign could be with a small group, where each of you have a lot of time to roleplay and talk through your characters. It's not always going to translate well when it comes to those kinds of things. And that whole thing with Hector, yeah, he definitely could have been more supportive, sure. I know you were in a time crunch because of work schedules and things like that, but at the same time, you certainly could have utilized online resources to speed up the process of learning the game. I know D&D is very daunting, especially for new players, because of those walls of text. Yeah, it can certainly be a challenge to overcome. However, there are plenty of videos and things of that nature, podcasts that you can just listen to or watch while you're doing something else. You can learn the game that way, at least the bare basics of it or some of the mechanics a part of it, so you have a better understanding going into a new game. Overall, I would say that you walked into a bad situation with at least 2 people who really didn't want to play with you, or maybe worse, who wanted to embarrass you on a weekly basis. And luckily, you were able to distance yourself from them and learn from your experiences. I'm certainly glad to hear also that you're giving the game another chance and having fun with it. So keep it up. And that's where we're going to end today's video. If you enjoy videos like this, then please drop a like, and also subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.